Far below the surface of the ocean, beyond the reach of sunlight, there is a place where life follows rules that seem almost impossible. A place of crushing pressure, endless darkness, and near total silence. Down here, food is rare, energy is precious, survival is uncertain. And in this world, some creatures have evolved a strategy so strange, so disturbing, that it almost feels like a mistake of nature. They begin to eat themselves, not out of madness, not by accident, but as a survival strategy. And the deeper scientists look into the ocean, the more they realize this bizarre behavior might be one of evolution's most extreme solutions to a brutal environment. A world of extreme scarcity. To understand why any creature would eat itself, we have to descend first into the conditions of the deep sea. Below about 1,000 meters, sunlight disappears completely. Plants cannot grow here. Without plants, there is no steady food chain like the one on land. Instead, most deep-sea animals survive on what scientists call marine snow, tiny flakes of dead plankton, waste, and organic debris slowly drifting down from the world above. Imagine trying to survive in a desert where food falls from the sky only a few crumbs at a time. That is daily life in the deep ocean. For many creatures, weeks or even months can pass without a meaningful meal. And this raises a terrifying question. When the next meal might never arrive, what options does a living creature have? For some animals, evolution has produced a shocking answer. Become your own emergency food supply. The fish that eats its own body. One of the strangest examples comes from certain deep-sea fish and eel-like creatures. When food becomes scarce, their bodies begin a strange transformation. Instead of immediately starving, their metabolism shifts. The body starts breaking down non-essential tissues, slowly consuming its own muscles and internal reserves. From the outside, the fish may still appear alive and functioning, but internally, parts of its own body are being recycled as fuel. It is a biological survival mode, similar to how humans burn fat during long periods without food. But in the deep sea, the process can become far more extreme. In some species, even parts of the digestive system begin shrinking to conserve energy. The creature essentially lives off itself, buying time in an environment where the next meal could be weeks away. And yet, scientists still don't fully understand how these animals manage this delicate balance, because consuming too much of their own body would be fatal, but stopping too early could mean starvation. Somehow, evolution has tuned this system with remarkable precision. Still, this is only the beginning of the story. The self-sacrificing sea cucumber. Even stranger examples exist among deep-sea invertebrates. Some species of sea cucumbers have developed a defense mechanism so dramatic that it almost sounds fictional. When threatened, they eject parts of their own internal organs into the water. Their digestive system, their respiratory organs, sometimes even entire internal structures. Predators become distracted by the floating mass of tissue, and while the attacker feeds, the sea cucumber escapes. Over the following weeks, the creature slowly regrows the lost organs. In other words, it sacrifices parts of itself to survive. Scientists call this process autotomy, the ability to deliberately shed body parts. Many animals on land can do this with tails or limbs, but deep-sea creatures take it much further, sometimes discarding vital organs and rebuilding them later. Which raises a fascinating evolutionary puzzle. Why develop such a costly strategy? The answer may lie in just how rare survival opportunities are in the deep sea. If escaping one predator means living long enough to reproduce even once, evolution considers that a success, even if the cost is literally eating or losing part of yourself. The creatures that digest their own arms. Perhaps the most eerie examples come from certain deep-sea starfish and brittle stars. During extreme food shortages, these animals have been observed slowly digesting their own arms. Unlike the sudden organ ejection of sea cucumbers, this is a gradual process. The starfish absorbs nutrients from one limb, sacrificing it to keep the central body alive. Later, if food becomes available again, the arm can regrow. It is a disturbing image, an animal quietly consuming part of its own body, alone in the darkness, simply to survive a little longer. And yet, in the deep sea, this strategy may be surprisingly effective, because starvation is not a rare event, it is a constant threat. And evolution does not care how strange a survival strategy looks, only whether it works. Still, these behaviors raise deeper questions scientists are still trying to answer. How do these creatures control the process so precisely? What signals tell the body when to begin sacrificing tissue? And how does regeneration begin afterward? The deeper researchers explore these systems, the more complex they appear. What we've discovered only deepens the mystery. Evolution in a world without mercy. The deep ocean is often imagined as a quiet, peaceful place, but in reality it is one of the most demanding environments on Earth. Temperatures hover near freezing. Pressure can exceed hundreds of times what humans experience at the surface. And food, perhaps the most important resource of all, is unpredictably scarce. In such conditions, evolution begins to experiment with solutions that seem almost alien. Creatures grow enormous mouths to swallow prey larger than themselves. Some generate their own light, others fuse permanently with their mates, and some, when survival demands it, slowly consume parts of their own bodies, not as an act of desperation, but as a carefully evolved adaptation, a living backup plan written into their biology. The larger mystery of the deep. And yet, despite decades of research, scientists have explored only a tiny fraction of the deep ocean. More than 80% of the ocean remains unmapped and largely unseen. Entire ecosystems likely exist that humans have never observed. Unknown species, unknown behaviors, unknown evolutionary strategies. Some of them may be even stranger than the ones we already know. Which raises an unsettling thought. If creatures we have barely discovered are already capable of surviving by consuming themselves, what other adaptations might exist in the darkness far below? What other survival strategies has evolution quietly invented in a world we rarely visit? The deeper we explore, the more we realize something extraordinary. The strangest creatures on Earth may not live in distant galaxies, but in the vast, silent ocean beneath our own planet, and we have only just begun to meet them.